me what I said, I'll believe it and then I forget. That's creating a delay, and I'm also, creating a nice tapey, warm. Tell me what I said, I'll believe it, and then I forget. Tell me what I said, I'll believe it, then I forget. Hey guys, Andy Pickering here. So on today's video I am going to be recording the last song off my new EP, which is going to be called Hangxiety's Home. If you've been following my videos recently, in the last, 6 months at least, you'll see I've been slowly chipping away at this new EP, and finally the last song is here, and I'm going to record it in very much the same way as before. So for anyone that doesn't know me, has never seen one of my videos, I have a little analog studio here. I record to 1/2" 8-track, mix down onto 1/4" 2-track, and use all analog effects all the way. And I write very poppy, 60s influenced kind of music. So to start with, let's talk about the song. It's called Tell Me What I Said. The song is in a kind of 6/8 time signature, and is very inspired by, I guess, Billy Joel must have been in my head at the time. Starts off with a that riff. Has verse, what we believe in defines all our feelings, and I wanna figure it out, which is what I call the A section. The B section is a chorus. Tell me what I said, I'll believe it and then I forget. Tell me baby, will you free me and not get upset, yeah. Tell you darling. Basically that is a chorus, and then there's just another tiny little C section which ends each chorus and eventually ends the song. There's an instrumental bit in the middle, and that's it. And that's how I approach the recording session. So to start with, the same method I've recorded all the songs so far is I have taken my 8-track to a studio up north in Leeds. We've done drums and bass live, or some guitar overdubs, some percussion, filled up as many tracks as I can while I'm there. And that's great working with Joe Montague and Chris Mulligan, two amazing musicians, session musicians, and that's getting all that down onto the tape, bringing it back here, putting some effects on it, mixing it to the Hifi VHS, bouncing that back onto the machine, and starting off with just 2 tracks and then filling up the rest to finish the song. I've done this method now. This is the 3rd song that I've done this method for. In fact, no, it's the 4th song that I've done this method for this EP. So yeah, it's working, and I'm getting a nice little sort of routine going. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to take this song, I'm going to go up to the studio, get all the live takes that we need. But first, I just want to give you a little tiny studio tour of in here, just brief little overview of what I'm doing, and then we'll take a look at the footage where I went up to the studio and captured the live stuff. So let's go. Okay, I'll give you a quick studio tour now. It's a bit of a mess in here because I'm actually filming this mid-session. So here's my piano, and pretty much that's where I sit and put the camera there and film myself talking to you guys. Right, so everything here is fully functional, and we'll start with the 8-track. So I track everything on this, usually filling up 8 tracks, bouncing down to 2, and then finishing it by filling up the remaining tracks. I use this Hifi VHS to perform most of my bounces, as it gives the best results in my opinion. On top of here I've got my 4-track, which I haven't been using that much recently, but I will be dragging that back out for use very soon. Got some modest outboard Clark Technic EQ, passive EQ, Clark Technic 1176 clone, and then I've got a spring reverb unit which I use on pretty much everything. Down here my patch bay is all the inputs for the recorder, all the inputs for my 2-track. Might as well say now this is what I used for tape delay and mixing onto, and it's all the inputs for the outboard and outputs. And then up here is my mixing desk, which has obviously lots of inserts, send and receives, inputs, outputs for everything, and a lot of them I've also got plumbed into this patch bay for ease around the studio. Yep, my monitors here, JBL monitors. This focus right here is for my digital end, and this box here is some Phantom Power keyboards, original Vox Continental from 1964, wooden key version. My Nord for more sample based vintage instruments, and another vintage 60s organ here. None of my guitars are in here at the minute. All these drawers down here contain all my cables, my microphones. I'm not going to go into detail of every single last little bit, but this is where I make all my music in this room, all analog. And let's get on with the video. Okay, here we go. So I'm at Joe Montague's studio at the All You Need Is Drums headquarters as usual, but we're actually in Studio 2, so this is a drier room, a smaller room with a different drum sound, different drum kit, and we are going to be tracking drums, Joe on the drums, Chris on the bass stood just there, me operating the tape machine, and live on the piano. So I'll just pan around the room and you can see how we're doing this. He's got these lovely mics on the piano in stereo. We've got everything running into the main room via these cables down here, and we're monitoring in here. So we've got this old 1980s desk. I actually really love this desk, but nothing's being run through this desk other than monitoring. We've just got a monitor there so we can hear what we're doing. Obviously I'm monitoring the levels coming in here, and we've got drums in mono, bass and stereo piano. I've opted for the mono drums on this track just because, I'll be honest, I can't afford the tracks. I either needed to go for the piano in mono, which it's the main thing on the track, so I didn't want to, or the drums in mono, and opted for the drums in mono, which will be great, absolutely great. And I think I prefer mono drums anyway. Just one thing to note here is that Chris and Joe do not know the song yet at all. They've never heard the song. This is how we do it. I turn up, we set it all up, and then we spend 2 hours going through the song until we're happy with it. Then we'll do a couple of takes, and then that's it. And for me, what a fantastic way to make records. You know, these are both professional session players that I'm working with here, and that's how the session players used to do it in the 60s. All those great Motown records that were made were just done exactly in that way. They didn't, you know, these iconic records now, not that I'm saying this is going to be iconic, were all recorded by people turning up on the day, learning the songs and getting them down. So yeah, really looking forward to this one. Let's go. Go from the end of the solo, that's a good place to go. Yeah. And we'll just try and work out, I don't know how slow, how fast the triplets should be, whether they should be in time with it or start in time the first half, then the second half they slow down. Dun 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 dun, okay, rather than like all slow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. What would you call that in a
retardando?
There you go.
I don't think you're allowed to say that anymore.
No. It sounds like retard Andy.
Yeah. Well.
Right, okay. Ready?
Yep.
I feel like any which way that we can actually get it tight will work. So
I think we're just going to have to jump in and just do it and try and the more we do it, the more we'll...
I'm quite happy to hit on the one, let a couple of hits happen so I know the timing of it, and then join in on the second half. That to me, because there can be other instruments once I've got it down, there can be other instruments that accentuate it. It just makes it safer for the piano because, you know, it is a very drastic change of time and pace, and I don't want to get all that way through in a good take and ruin it just by me being out of time with you, because the piano is going to be really prominent. So for me, it'd just be. So you're playing the triplets all the way through the bit, but I'm just hitting on the one.
Okay. That sounds.
It's a safety net rather than anything.
That's cool. We can do that.
Yeah, cool. Either way. Just going to quickly intervene here because at the time of recording at the studio, Joe, the drummer, put out some social media talking about the session. So I got him to send me that video, and I'm going to insert it into this video here so you can hear his perspective on the session.
Okay, so here we have a really cool session I played recently where we recorded drums, bass and piano all together straight to this lovely 8-track machine. It was done in my second room where the piano is, and it also has quite a tight sound compared to room 1. And for this I summed the drum mix through all my outboard gear and sent one mono channel to the 8-track. Andy was happy with just a mono channel. He brought the bare bones of the song up and we workshopped our parts together until we were happy. That was in the morning, and then we started running for takes in the afternoon. I think we only did 3 or 4 until we were happy. I was quite conscious of too much spill through the piano mic, so I'm playing a little bit on the restrained side, but playing quieter can often lead to a much bigger drum sound anyway, which you can sort of hear on the tom sound. The aim here was a 1970s Billy Joel, Elton John sort of thing, so I dampened the snare down and tightened the kick up quite a lot. During the main beat I added this sort of hi-hat open just to give it something a little bit unique, which I thought was cool and was working pretty well. I had this couple of bars of drum fill to myself, so I came up with something a bit tasty to fit in there but that didn't disrupt the flow of the song. Hit me up if you want drums on your songs.
And we are back, and the machine is plumbed back into my rig. Okay, so yes, piano, left and right, stereo. They were lovely ribbon mics picking up. There's a lot of drums and bass on the piano there, but it's just all natural, roomy goodness. Bass and drums, and then we did the tambourine overdub and a guitar overdub. And I've just recorded my classic spring reverb on tracks 7 and 8 before I mix all this down. Starting with the piano. reverbs are here. Now, they're going to be really subtle. Because the room sounds so good, I don't need to drench it completely. Like other tracks, I go full hog on the reverb, but this is a bit drier. So as you can see, that is literally the drums, bass and everything are all captured just on those piano mics. And then we've got the actual dedicated tracks there and the overdubs. Probably going to have a spring reverb about there. So yeah, that's a really nice blend I've got going on there. Basically, to get the spring reverb on these tracks, you might have seen in my previous videos, I bus my mix. Bus number 1, which is left, comes down here, and I send it through the EQ, taking off the low end, boosting a little bit of the high, going through the reverb, 100% wet. Then I'm compressing it, and then it gets recorded down here via my patch bay. But eventually, once it's passed through all there, it's going into my tracks here, and that's recorded 100% wet onto track 7, and then I do exactly the same thing, but then just change my bus out here, goes, you know, to the number 2 bus out, which is the right hand side, and then I've got a stereo reverb. I mean, there's not, apart from the piano, everything else is pretty much in mono. I've panned the lead guitar or electric guitar to one side a little bit, but still, with having a stereo spring reverb recorded actually on the tape, it does open up the stereo field somewhat. So that is the 100% wet reverbs that I've got. So I'm incredibly happy with this. It's such a punchy sound playing in that smaller room, and you know, when you have issues with bleeding and things like that in terms of how we record, they're not issues, but like because it's all done live and it's all across all the mics, and I'm not going to be editing any of this, there's no issues with it. It would be an issue if I went, right, here we go, chop it all up in my DAW. Oh, hang on a minute, I can't correct that one little note I don't like on the piano because the drums and the bass are in it and it's going to sound weird. So yes, that's why recording like this is fantastic, but you've got to be a good musician and you've got to get it right. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to take this 8-track mix, bounce it down into stereo on my Hifi VHS, and that's going to be a whole mix on 2 tracks, and then it's going to free me up 6 tracks to finish the song. Okay, so here we go. The back of the Sony VHS, Hifi VHS. We've got a SCART adapter which makes it possible to record audio in, and it's basically has an in and out switch. So switch it to in and plug your left and right into there, and then that's my output there, which will be then recorded back onto the reel-to-reel when I'm ready for the new session. And here it is, already set up, ready to record onto. So I do get asked quite a lot why I record onto this Hifi VHS when I've got a 15 inches a second recorder there, which is going to be technically better. And I'll tell you why. Because this is like recording digital in terms of there is no noise added at all, and it just has like a kind of perfect capture without I don't want tapey elements at this stage, because I'm going to mix down onto that. And when I mix down onto that, that's when I want the beautiful, glorious, tapey, finished thing on my whole mix. And it will add, you know, some noise. This doesn't add any noise. It's ridiculously quiet, but it's just a perfect recorder. If I had 2 more tracks, it'd be nice to bounce them all down internally on the machine and not need to go like through that and then back onto fresh tape. That would be nice. However, just the way that I'm recording, you know, going to Joe's and trying to get a couple of overdubs done while I'm there, and then wanting the reverb on, I just run out of tracks basically. So to me, just getting a nice full 8-track mix onto stereo, then back onto fresh tape. It's worked on every track that I've done it on so far with really great results, so I'm just going to keep doing it. So I've recorded the mix down onto the Hifi VHS, and here it is. Nice and clean, nice and loud, and this will simply be mixed onto a fresh pass of tape on the 8-track. And we'll go from there. Okay, so we are now back off the VHS. That's off now, and I've recorded downs onto track 3 and 4. And the reason I'm starting on a fresh pass of tape on 3 and 4 is because being careful of the outside tracks due to being more prone to dropouts, which has not been a huge issue with this Tascam 38, but something you know, particularly on the main mix here. So yeah, so I've live mixed the elements from the session, and now we're down to 2 tracks, and you know, I'm really happy with how it sounds. It's quite clean. Always recording off the VHS quite clean. And that's with the reverb put on the top there, and I would say 80% of the track is completely finished just from that one live session and a quick mix when I got home, and I'll never need to touch those faders because everything's exactly where I want it to be, which is a great place to be. As you can see, everything's off. So let's get on with filling up some overdubs. Okay, so the most important part now of the recording is choosing your overdubs. So as I said, we've got 80% of the track already done. You just need to give it some texture. And first things first, I always wanted to do some high, plinky, real piano, just the top part of the piano register, and I'm blending that in with the main piano just at select parts of the track, and that's worked really well. Let's have a little look at that. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to do was some organ. I tried lots of different things. I tried the Vox organ. It was too combo organ sounding. It was just not right. Tried the Filichord. It wasn't right. Ended up going with a Hammond sample and with a Leslie on it, and that worked really well. But it wasn't until I was getting to a thing where I thought, do you know what, I'm going to record 2 different tones, not sure which one's going to work. And then, as if by magic, I kept them both, because I was like, oh wow, 2 different organs, one's slightly higher, one's slightly lower. It just worked great. So yeah, you've got stereo organ now. Wasn't a plan, happy accident, but you know, it comes from playing around with the track. Okay, the next thing was just a very subtle electric piano Wurlitzer sound, again just through playing around with different sounds and seeing what works and what didn't work, and that just sort of gave a nice sort of mid tone to the piano track. It's something that you can't really pick it out, but it's there, you know, and stuff like that can be really important in a mix. Then I decided, hang on a minute, it just needs something in the solo section, something to bring it up. So again, playing around, and like the last track I did, Out of the Way, if you saw that video, I used a Mellotron string sound. And I decided, you know, 3/4 into the song to bring some strings in, and it just was like the icing on the cake. Okay, let's quickly take a look at these overdubs on the tracks. So there's the Wurlitzer, which I also did with some of the high. There's the high piano, but I mixed those two together quite subtly. And then there's the organs. And those 4 tracks were then folded down here. So I bounced all those 4 elements down here. So that's our whole track now. And how I did that was you basically take your elements. So I got my organ and my overdubs there. You make sure that you've got different bus outputs to the main track, because obviously that's already bounced, we're not recording that. So in that instance, they were all on 3 and 4, I think at that time. Bus outs 3 and 4. These are my buses, and the bus outs are here, and it's literally just taking an out from the number 3, which is the left channel, and number 4, which is the right channel, which is on my patch bay just here. So you can probably just about read that, bus outs. And then they go straight out of there and straight into the tracks and record onto the tape. And that's as simple as it is. So yeah, that's our bounce there, and that's our main track. And everything's on here now. But then this is where I added my Mellotron as an afterthought there. Which will be pretty subtle. Okay, so that's what we're left with now. These 3 remaining tracks, the organs and the plinky piano, are all going to be recorded over, because obviously they're bounced down there, and these are going to be my vocal tracks now. Okay, so the last part of the song is getting the vocals down before the mix. And I've got 3 free tracks, 1, 2 and 5. Basically, the method that I'm going to do and what I've worked out with what I've got left, 1 and 2 are going to be a double track vocal as close as I can get them. They're going to be ping-ponged onto track 5. Then I'm going to record over tracks 1 and 2. So the finished dry double track vocal will be on 5. I'm going to record a tape delay on track 1. And then with the last track, track 2, I'm going to do some harmonies. And that's going to have all of our 8 tracks filled up with a very large production and working to the absolute limitations of the machine. So let's get on with those vocals and the tape delay to start with. What we believe in defines all the feelings, and I wanna figure it out. Tell me what I said, if I cannot take it, a line has been drawn here for now. Okay, I've got the tape delay running now on the double trap vocal, and basically I'm sending the double trap vocal straight in to the tape. It's recording there at 7.5 inches a second. That's creating a delay, and I'm also, you know, creating a nice tapey, warm kind of sound on the vocal. That's going dry into this EQ, and then I'm taking off the EQ low end mostly, boosting some of the high, but the idea is to then send in into this reverb unit, this spring reverb. The idea is you're sending a signal that's going to make the best of the unit. There's no point in having low mids going into a spring reverb. It just doesn't sound nice. It's not going to be good. And then you're compressing that to make the reverb sound even longer, and the delay is making the reverb even longer, so you're sort of in conjunction with a compressor. The idea is that you're trying to blow up the reverb to be as big as possible. There we go. Tell me what I said, I believe it, then I forget. That's a... Tell me, baby, will you free me if I can understand? That's it on its own. I'm leaving you. Okay, so let's just have a look at those vocals. As we've just gone through, all the vocals are on 5, 1 and 2. So remember, the original double trap vocal, which we recorded on 1 and 2, would bounce there dry. Then a tape delay was recorded there, and then a harmony backing vocal, just to give some textures. Okay, so that is now all tracked and all done. And before we go for a mix, let's just do a brief overview of everything that's on the tape. Okay, so there is our original bounce of the pianos, the bass, the guitar, the percussion, the effects and the drums, everything that was done in the studio. Vocal effect, backing vocal. This could be so confusing. I'll load up my things and be gone. Tell me what I said, I believe. And there's that second bounce. And here is the last item, which is the mellotron strings there. Right then, it's mix time. Now I'm leant down a little bit awkwardly like this because it's almost impossible to get a good angle to film from here so that you can see both tape machines and a little bit of the mixing desk. It's all coming through the desk, going from the 38 through the desk. I'm going to be using a few EQs on the board, no outboard, because all my compressions and reverbs, everything like that's all printed to tape. And we're mixing on to the Tascam 32 2-track. So I'm going to get on with this mix and then see you on the other side after you've heard the finished mix straight from the tape. And here we are at the end of the line, the finished mix. The most satisfying thing for me is all that journey, all that making the music all analog, all by hand, and it eventually ends up on a glorious 1/4 inch tape. Now I recorded this at 15 inches a second because obviously I want the highest possible quality at this stage. So I hope you enjoy the track. It's called Tell Me What I Said. I just want to give a huge thanks to Chris Mulligan and Joe Montague at the studio for helping me realise my song and making it infinitely better than what I would have done otherwise, just trying to do everything myself. So without further ado, here it is, the finished mix. What we believe in defines all our feelings, and I wanna figure it out. Tell me what I said, if I cannot take it. A line has been drawn here for now. I never knew this could be so confusing. I'll load up my things and be gone. Tell me what I said, I believe it and then I forget. Tell me, baby, will you free me and not get upset? Tell you, darling, I believe in you, leaving you. My head's in the clouds, but my feet on the ground. It's the way that I always been. Change is a maze, just a sequence of haze. For a long don't see mist of red. Even if I cannot see this conclusion, I'll fill out a form of my own. Tell me what I said, I'll believe it and then I forget. Tell me, baby, will you free me and not get upset? Tell you, darling, I believe in you, leaving you. Tell me why you cannot figure it out on your own. Tell me what I said, I'll believe it, then I forget. Tell me, baby, will you free me and not get upset? Tell you, darling, I believe in you, leaving you. Tell me why you cannot figure it out on your Right then, there we go. That's the last song done on the EP. Now, of course, all the masters you hear in these videos are never the masters that are going to be released. I'm going to be taking the tape machine up to a mastering studio. I'm actually going to do another video on that, and they'll be the finished released version. As you see, the title of this video is Analog Inventiveness, AI, which, yeah, it's a backlash against the fact that we are now man versus machine. It's almost like 2001, isn't it? And I'm trying to keep it real. I'm trying to keep it real because every day I'm hearing AI this, AI that. And it's scary, you know. It's AI writing songs now. There's nothing better at capturing the human soul than analog tape. And I truly believe that. So I really hope you enjoyed the song. I hope you enjoyed this long video, my methods, doing everything for real, taking creativity to the highest possible level that you can do when you're doing almost everything yourself, wearing every hat yourself. And I'm super ecstatic to get this EP out. As I say, I really hope you enjoyed it. and please like and subscribe. Follow me on Bandcamp, all links below to anything Andy Pickering. I do session keyboards for people as well. Also, I'm involved in mixing using my analog gear and things like that. So if there's ever any reason you want to work with me, please get in touch, or just get in touch even if you just want to say hey. So that's everything for today, and until the next video, I'll see you again soon. Cheers, bye.